We hear all the time, homeschooling should be fun, learning should be fun, make it fun. But I think a lot of people hear that and think, so what am I supposed to be, like a cruise director? Am I supposed to make this like a circus every day? How are my kids gonna learn if we're just always having fun? But I think what we're forgetting is that fun is effortful. If you remember back to when your kids were toddlers and they were learning some fundamental skill, maybe they were learning to walk, maybe they were young and learning to ride their bike, maybe they were learning to swim. That is fun, but it's also extremely effortful, and the effort is part of the fun. I think so many homeschool parents and so many kids hear learning should be fun, homeschooling should be fun, and the kids are thinking, this is hard, I'm not having fun. Somewhere along the line, we disconnected fun and effort, as if anything that we've ever learned or learned how to do that is fun didn't involve a massive amount of effort first. I was just reminding my daughter about this today. She was learning something, it was hard, and I asked her, how do you want me to teach this to you? Because she didn't like the way that I was teaching her. It was too effortful. It was hard. And she said, I don't know. And I said, do you want me to just like take a thumb drive and plug it into my brain and then plug it into your brain and then that's how you'll learn it? Because that isn't how it works. Learning is effortful, but it's the effort that makes it so satisfying. Part of fun is satisfaction, and nothing is satisfying that comes easy. I think one of the reasons why we have somehow, for academics only, separated fun and effort is because we stopped celebrating the effort a long time ago. I remember when my son was he was a baby and he was just learning to flip over. I remember my husband and I stood at that crib for hours and watched him, cheering him on. It was so amazing watching him, just like he'd throw his leg over and try to flip over, and that wouldn't work. And then sometimes he'd get his leg and his arm and we'd be like, oh my gosh, you're almost there, you've almost got it. And we didn't help him, we didn't make it easier, because we understood that is a fundamental skill that he had to figure out on his own. But we celebrated it, and then when he turned over, we told everybody and everybody celebrated it. But we don't really do that with academics, do we? We often celebrate the outcome. Oh, Brinley got an A in math. Joseph got the first prize in the science fair. But rarely ever do we call grandmas and grandpas and say, oh my gosh, Brinley worked so hard at reading today. She didn't quite get the CH blend, but she's getting closer. And then grandma never goes, oh my gosh, congratulations, Brinley, you're doing so good. We stopped celebrating effort. When our kids do anything else that requires effort, we are all there. Right? When they are learning to ride a bike, we're celebrating every little bit of effort. Oh my gosh, you did so well with dad holding onto the bike. And then dad stops holding onto the bike and they have a teeny tiny little success, a little step. They were able to ride down the road a little bit. And we're so excited. We celebrate that and we tell everybody, and everybody celebrates that. As a society, we celebrate effort that is visible, but we don't celebrate the effort that comes with academics. And academics are the only place we do that. I think if we want to have a fun homeschool and an enjoyable homeschool, we need to be focusing on celebrating the tiny steps, the effort. I was working with my daughter on a math problem when she was a preteen, and I saw this math problem, and honestly, I could not remember ever encountering this concept before, which is crazy because I've homeschooled, I'm educated myself, but I was just like, I have no idea how to do this. And so we sat there and we went back and forth and we tried different things. We looked at the answer key, but it showed us the answer, but not how to get there. And it was multi-steps. It was a lot of work and she was very frustrated, but we just kept plugging away at it, and we'd get the wrong answer and I'd laugh and I'd be like, okay, let's try something else. And she'd be like, okay, let's try this. We'd try it. And in the middle of it, she looked at me and with the disgust that only a preteen can show, a preteen girl, she looked at me and she went, ugh, you're enjoying this, aren't you? And I thought, yeah, I am. It's a lot of effort, but it's fun. Having a fun homeschool doesn't mean that you're their cruise director. It doesn't mean that you're setting up a circus every day. Oftentimes, it means that you are remembering to celebrate all the hard steps and be excited about that, instead of yourself looking at it like, oh my gosh, we have to go over this concept again. I thought you learned it yesterday or last week. And instead of feeling inside like, oh my gosh, we just have to get through this so that we can get to the next thing, we need to remember to be celebrating. We need to stop. We need to enjoy. We need to let them practice the skill that they just learned. But we treat academics differently. We're like, okay, we got to learn this so that we can learn the next thing, so we can get to the next thing. We never take take time to celebrate. We don't take time to enjoy it. We don't get others involved in the celebration. We just kind of think, okay, that one's done. That's off our list. Now let's go to the next one. And it's not fun. We have to be fun by celebrating the effort and letting them feel that satisfaction that comes from working hard and mastering a skill. So as you're planning your homeschool year, plan fun, but fun isn't always just games and fun activities and field trips. It's putting in the effort and celebrating all the effortful steps.